Hi friends, Devang here. So good morning and welcome back to my revision series of CA final costing subject. Today's session is for revision of chapter number 4, that is cost management techniques. Now this chapter is important for theory as well as practicals. Remember, chapter 3 that we did in my previous revision was mostly theory, very less practicals. Chapter 2 had theory practicals both. Chapter 4 is also having theory as well as practicals both. This chapter is as such a short chapter. The chapter is talking about cost management techniques. Well, so under the chapter we are going to learn topics like these. First, let me give you a topic revision. First thing under the chapter is cost control, cost reduction. Basic theory, but that theory is involved at many places in my subject. I didn't say many places in this chapter, rather it is involved in many places of the subject. We discussed about cost reduction in chapter 3 also. We had cost control discussed under chapter 12, standard costing also. Yeah, so it comes at many different places. First topic here, cost control versus cost reduction. Then you have topic regarding target costing. Okay, then part C will be life cycle costing. Okay, then D you have something called Pareto analysis, and then last one is environment management accounting. Yeah, so total 5 topics over here, starting with the first one, cost control, cost reduction. Well, the discussion regarding the cost control, cost reduction we have done in the very first day of my class. Yes, very first day of CA final coaching we had learnt about cost control versus cost reduction. What is that? Well, both of them indicate that you want to decrease the cost. But what is the difference? Difference is that cost control, remember, cost control means you want to decrease your actual cost and bring it down till the estimate. You want to bring your actual cost down till the estimate, that is called as cost control. While cost reduction means what? Cost reduction means that you wish to bring your estimate down to another estimate. You want to bring from estimate 1 to estimate 2. That was called as cost reduction. So cost control is mainly pertaining to controlling my actual cost. So in case of cost control, standards are not examined. You are not changing the standard. While cost reduction means that you are not adjusting your actual cost. Rather, cost reduction means that you need to analyze the standard cost, challenge that standard cost, bring that standard cost itself down. So bringing the standard cost down was cost reduction, while bringing the actual cost down is cost control. Also, how will cost control be done? How is cost reduction done? Remember, cost control was done how? Well, cost control was done by avoiding mistakes, by preventing the mistakes that you used to do. Yes, so cost control is basically a preventive measure. It is obtained by preventing the mistakes which we did in the last year. So naturally, cost control is implemented after the mistakes are done. Hence, I say it is a preventive measure. While cost reduction is not a preventive measure. I say it is a corrective measure. Why? Because cost reduction is done before you actually incur the cost. Yes. So how to do that? I told you cost control is done by preventing your mistakes, like preventing wastage of material, preventing wastage of labor. That can give you cost control. That will not give you cost reduction. For cost reduction, you need to think of, say, new technology of production, maybe change the design of the product. Yes, so chalo, change of technology, change of design are the two most common methods of achieving a cost reduction. Many more methods of achieving a cost reduction we'll see further. Yeah, but as of now, this explains what is cost reduction, what is cost control, and that is why I say that cost control is not necessarily permanent. Like if you could achieve decrease in the wastage of material this year, does it mean that every year your wastage will decrease? No. But cost reduction is real and permanent. if you change the design of the product, which will decrease your cost, then will you get that decrease every year? Yes, you will achieve that lesser cost every year until you follow that new design. Hence, cost reduction, change of design will give you permanent cost decrease, while preventing mistakes will give you temporary cost decrease. Done? Yes, cost reduction is to be done not by decreasing the quality. Quality has to be retained, but while doing cost control, there is no such guarantee. Yes. Anyways, so it is challenging the standards, and standards are not changed over here. Cost reduction is applicable to all areas of business. Cost control is applicable only to those items of cost for which standards are set. If there are some items of cost where there is no standard decided, then cost control is not done, because you don't compare the standard with the actual then. Yeah. Cost control emphasis is on the future cost, while cost control emphasis is on present and past cost. Because the emphasis is on past, hence I say it is a preventive measure, while cost reduction is a corrective measure. Done? Yes. Okay. Next is scope of cost reduction. How to achieve cost reduction, methods, or where to achieve cost reduction. Like I told you, the best way to achieve cost reduction is to change the product design. Changing the product design to use cheaper or high yield materials. High yield materials means that with lesser material you get more products, more output. So you change the design of the product such that your materials can be used lesser, or by reducing the production time. If the time taken to produce decreases, then your overheads cost will decrease. Standardization and simplification of variety, all that can be done to achieve cost reduction. Or organization of each function, assignment of task, communications, better communication to the employees, better assignment of tasks, that can help you achieve cost reduction. Factory layout equipment, well, replace the plant machinery, introduce some new techniques, or do expansion of the plant and machineries and all. Well, that might help you achieve cost reduction. It will eliminate wastage of men and material and maximize the usage of the facilities. That can help you achieve cost reduction. And production plan program, well, you might also change your production plan in order to achieve cost reduction. Eliminate faulty production methods, change the plant layout. Incentive schemes, maybe you promote incentive schemes to the employees so that they produce more, so that there is a reduction in wastage of men and material, so that you can control the overhead cost. Yeah, chalo, these are the ways how you can decrease the cost. This was my basic introduction in the chapter. Now, this cost reduction is mainly applied in my next topic called target costing. Cost reduction is applied when you wish to reach a target cost. Target costing is a topic which is important for practical. More important for practical. Yes, theory is also there, but more important in practical. Plus, more important in analysis. So, target costing is important for practicals and analysis. You remember now CA final costing involves three things. It involves theory, it involves practicals, and it involves analysis. Wherever there is practicals means you need to calculate and reach an answer, but that will not be enough. Everywhere where you calculate and reach an answer, you have to write some analysis. And well, to write that analysis, you will need the theory. Hence, there are three things in my entire subject here: theory, practicals, and analysis. Yes, practicals you can solve easily. To write analysis of that practicals, you will need to understand the theory. All three things are needed. So first, let us see the theory under target costing. What is target cost? Target cost means the cost which you wish to achieve. Why? Because there is a target selling price at which I need to sell. Look, all companies do not have the liberty of deciding their own selling price. Maybe my company is in very tough competition, so that I have to accept whatever is the market price. I have to keep my selling price equal to or lesser than selling price of my competitor. Well, if I have to keep my selling price similar to that of my competitor, so what I do is First, determine selling price that the customer would be ready to pay based on the competition, based on other options that are available. Next, determine the profit that I require and deduct that profit from the selling price. The remaining amount now left is used as a budgeted cost to make the product. This remaining amount now left is called as my target cost. Basically, what I have written in this paragraph here, same thing I have given in my table here. Notice, I decide a target selling price which I feel the customer would be ready to pay, minus the target profit which I want to earn, profit that I wish to earn, deduct the profit, then what I get is the target cost required. Cost required means this is the maximum cost I should be incurring. Target cost mainly involves, target costing topic here mainly involves cost reduction in order to reach that target cost. Maybe my actual cost is more than this target cost, then I need to implement cost reduction in order to reach this target cost. Yeah, target cost might be the target total cost or might be any other component of cost which is targeted to be achieved. For example, you notice all the three tables here are same, but the tables will continue on the next page where it is different. My first table here says that from the target selling price minus the target profit will give me target total cost required. From that minus the target given costs. Certain costs will be given, deduct those given costs, then what remains is the target cost which you require. Well, example. Out of the target total cost required, you are already given labor and overheads. Maybe direct labor, maybe the direct labor and overheads are fixed. It will not change, it will not be decreased. So if direct labor and overheads are already given, deduct that given cost here. So that now what remains out of the total cost, if I deduct labor and overheads, then what remains will be the direct material cost. This direct material cost is my target material cost. Similarly, if material and overheads are given, deduct that from total cost, what you get is the target labor cost. So in short, from the total cost that you get, deduct the cost which are already given. So what is obtained now is the cost which is required, target cost which is required. Done? Yes. So the question might ask you to calculate the target total cost, or it might ask you to calculate the target manufacturing cost, or it might ask you the target material cost. If I ask you the target material cost, meaning all other items of cost should be given. So you get the target total cost like this, deduct the other costs which are given, what remains is my target material cost. Done? Yes. Okay, this format is the one which you follow in all practical questions of target costing. Yes, most of target costing practicals can be done by this logic here. Only thing is, in different questions there might be different items of cost like these which are given. Yeah. Okay, this target cost is then compared with the existing cost, meaning actual cost, and accordingly comment whether target is achieved or not. If not achieved, then give suggestions of how to achieve it. Yes. Acha. Within that also, existing cost or actual cost might be determined by activity based costing method. Look, activity based costing is something that you have learnt in your intermediate level. Well, should have learnt in your intermediate level, and it will be applied at many places in CA final. So over here also, under your questions of target costing, your target costing questions might also require activity based costing. Yes, so you identify existing cost of the product not by absorbing overheads in a routine method, instead by absorbing overheads based on activities. Yes. Okay, so you compare the target cost, calculate the existing cost, you calculate the existing cost, compare it with the target cost, and say whether the target is achieved or not. If not achieved, then yes, you need to give suggestions of how to achieve it. Well, some suggestions you might find in the question itself. If not, then you draft your own suggestions. Yes, do some home production and draft your own suggestions that in which areas can the company implement cost reduction, which cost can be reduced, how it can be reduced. Give your own analysis, give your own suggestions in that. I cannot give you general notes for any such suggestions because that will depend on case to case basis. Yes, so you read the question and think for yourself that in which areas they need to reduce the cost. If you find that the company has very high material cost, then write your suggestion that you need to reduce material cost. If you see that the company has very high labor cost, then write your suggestion that company should try to decrease the labor cost. You can suggest that company should change the machines from manual machines to automatic machines so that labor will decrease, defectives will decrease. All such suggestions you give over here. Done? Okay. Next theory is about components of target costing system. Well, target costing system involves two things: value analysis and value engineering. Value analysis and value engineering is a scientific approach to do cost reduction without reducing the quality. Difference is that value analysis is for existing products, while the word value engineering refers to new products. Ultimately, both of them involve these things. So these points given here are suggestions how to decrease cost, how to do cost reduction. Well, first suggestion, you can do cost reduction by eliminating some functions. Some of the functions in my company which are not necessary, eliminate the functions. Check whether you can eliminate some durability. Maybe I do not need the product to be so much durable. So if I can decrease the durability, I can decrease the cost. Yes. Minimize the design by using fewer parts or by giving fewer features. Maybe by decreasing the design, by decreasing the number of parts, and by giving lesser features, the product cost can be reduced. Then try to do that. Yes. Design the product better. Maybe you make the design of the product in such a way that it cannot have any defects. Design that can be created in only a specific manner such that there cannot be mistakes in the design. You remember in class we had discussed example of printer cartridge there. Any printer if you see, then the printer will have an ink cartridge inside, but that ink cartridge is such that it can be fit into the printer only in a specific direction. If you try to fit it in reverse direction, the cartridge will not even fit inside. Meaning the cartridge has been designed in such a way that you cannot insert it wrong. You have to insert it in a correct way only. If you insert it wrong, it will not work. Yes, that is my designing the product. Substitute parts for less expensive components or material. You substitute the parts for less expensive components, maybe less expensive materials, that can save you some cost. Steps can be consolidated. Check whether your steps can be consolidated, done by one person, that can save you some cost. Take suppliers assistance. Maybe material supplier can give you some suggestions regarding how to save your cost. Redesign the process to suit our needs. Okay, you can tell the supplier to redesign his process. Supplier will redesign their process such that it will directly suit my needs, so that I can save time of doing quality check of the material, maybe like that. And in general, is there any other better way? That is a vague point, but that can also be giving you ideas regarding cost reduction. Yeah, anyways, so these points over here are just the points regarding how to achieve cost reduction. Okay, however, you must also comment that decrease in production time. By decreasing the production time, it might put unwanted pressure on the design and implementation team. If I'm forcing my employees to decrease the production time, it might be unnecessary pressure on the employees, due to which quality might deteriorate. This sentence should put in your answer. This sentence should put in your comment in your answer that unnecessary pressure on the employees to decrease the production time might lead to lesser quality of the product. Well, you write that this should not happen. Done? Yes. Okay. Next, management accountant's role in target costing. Management accountant means our role, cost accountant. What are you supposed to do in target costing? Well, I said that target costing requires cost reduction. Well, cost reduction requires a change of design, change of technology. Can you discover change of design? No. Can you discover change of technology? No. Who will do that? Well, change of design is done by the designers. Change of technology can be done by the engineers. So what is your contribution? What is your role in achieving the target cost? Well, your role is this. First of all, you need to provide a running series of cost estimates. You need to provide a series of cost estimates to the designers, to the engineers, so that they can check whether their new design achieves the target cost or not. So in short, cost estimations, cost estimations of the new design you have to give. Plus, you have to evaluate any capital budgeting request. If the design team says that they need a new machine, you have to evaluate whether the new machine will give positive NPV or not. You know NPV, might have done in FM subject, net present value. So you have to evaluate whether the machine will give them positive present value, net present value or not. Okay. You need to work with the design team to help it understand the nature of various costs. For example, if I tell the designers to come up with a new design so that cost can be decreased, well, designer does not know that which is the most expensive component. Say maybe the designer came up with a new design in which labor used is less. But I forgot to tell the designer that anyways labor was not expensive for me. For me, the most expensive component was material. Now designers came up with a new design which will save labor, use more material. Will it save cost? No. So I need to explain to the designers that material is more expensive, labor is less expensive. Which material is more expensive? I need to make them understand so that accordingly they will come up with a new design. In short, I need to help the designers understand the nature of various costs. I need to tell them that which cost is variable, which cost is fixed. I need to tell them that which is most expensive component, which is less expensive component. Accordingly, they will come up with a new design. I need to tell them that you come up with a new design that will save materials. I don't need to save labor because labor is anyways very cheap available. But I need you to come up with a design which will save materials. That understanding I need to give to the designers. That is where again you are needed. Then you are also supposed to track the gap between current cost and target cost, meaning you need to check whether cost reduction is achieved or not, and you need to check whether cost control is done or not. Cost reduction means you compare current cost with the target cost, while cost control means you compare the actual cost to the target cost. Yes, so all that comparisons you also need to make. These are the things that you need to do in target costing. Done? Yes. Next is discussion regarding target costing data flow. Now, where is all this data obtained? Whatever data we need for target costing, where is that data obtained from? Well, for all kinds of analysis in target costing, I can get data from the central accounting database. Okay. In the initial stages, data you get by simply guessing work. So either you get the data from the database or from simple guessing work or estimate of highest possible cost. Look, while doing the target costing, you will also estimate highest possible cost. Highest possible cost means max to max how much cost will be incurred. Max to max. Why do I make this estimate? Well, I make this estimate to evaluate my risk so that I can know that the risk is that max to max this cost will go up to this amount. Max to max labor cost will increase by 10%, not more than that. But max to max material cost can increase by 80%. Well, so material is more risky. It will help me evaluate the risk. Okay. Also, I can get information from the competitor's information, because naturally my target selling price comes from what the competitor is charging, and I can get information by reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is exactly what we did in this format here. I start from selling price and I go reverse. You notice that I started from selling price and then I go reverse to reach the cost. This is kind of reverse engineering. That reverse engineering will require support from the marketing staff and engineering staff. Marketing staff will tell me that what is the selling price of the other companies, competitors. Engineering staff will tell me that what are my other costs, given cost. Marketing staff can help me identify the target selling price. Engineering staff will help me identify these costs which are given, so that I can find the target cost required. Done? Yes. Okay, this was called as target costing data flow, meaning where to get the data from. And finally, the situations where target costing is implemented, most useful situations where target costing should be implemented. Well, in that only one point important, dekho, target costing is most useful in situations where majority of the product costs are logged in during the designing phase. Like in manufacturing industries. In manufacturing industry, at the time of designing itself, you will know that which cost will be incurred, because every unit that you now manufacture will be of the same design. While in case of service industries, cost is not fixed at the time of designing, because every service that I provide might be unique, might be different. Well, that is why you see the difference here, that in case of manufacturing industry, target costing is implemented in the designing phase. Let me put it like this. Target costing is implemented during the design phase when we talk about manufacturing industries. But in case of service industries, target costing is implemented during the production phase. For manufacturing industries, target costing is done during designing phase. Why? Because during designing itself your costs are decided. While in case of service industries, there is no specific design how I give the service. Every time I might be given different kinds of services. So for a service industry, target costing is done during the production phase. During production meaning while giving the services, while providing the services. This is a major difference here. Yeah. Anyways, in general, for the following companies, target costing will be most beneficial. Companies which are assembly oriented industries, as against the companies having repetitive same kind of processes. Okay. Companies having diversification of products, for them target costing will be more beneficial. Companies that have automations, machines are used more, so target costing will be beneficial. Companies having shorter product life cycle, then target costing might be beneficial. And companies who implement JIT, well, if you implement JIT, then definitely you will need target costing. Yeah, these are the situations where target costing will be more useful. This does not mean that in other situations target costing is not used. No, target costing is used in many situations, but these are the ones where it is more useful. Done? Yes. Okay. In my opinion, from this chapter, target costing, I would say, is the most important topic. Yeah, most important meaning more commonly asked. Next one, life cycle costing. Well, life cycle costing is more important in case studies, more important in analysis. There is not much practicals or not much calculations involved here. Life cycle is more important for case studies. Mostly you will get question here which is pertaining to case study. Plus, this discussion regarding life cycle costing will be along with chapter number 7, pricing decision. So under pricing decision also there will be a topic, there will be case studies of life cycle costing, which I will cover up here itself. Yeah. So what exactly is life cycle costing? It says that every product, say new product, will have different phases in its life cycle. Yes, there will be different stages in its life cycle. First stage, when you newly launch a product, it enters into the introduction phase. Then once the people get to know your product, you will enter the growth phase where your sales will rapidly increase. You notice that in introduction stage, the sales was increasing very slowly. Then in growth stage, it increases very rapidly. If I give you more simpler diagram, during introduction stage, your sales is increasing slowly. During growth stage, your sales increases rapidly. Then comes maturity stage. During maturity stage, your sales becomes almost consistent or increases very slowly. In fact, it increases slowly, becomes consistent, and then starts decreasing also. And then during decline stage, your sales starts decreasing rapidly. These stages cover the life cycle of a product. Now that life cycle total might be of say 1 year or 10 years or 100 years, depends on the product. Yeah, like say for example, mobile phones. Now there used to be a time when mobile phones were not existing at all. Then what started coming was mobile phones, the basic ones, feature phones, Nokia wala jo tha, not a smartphone but basic feature phones. So feature phones initially was introduction stage. When people get to know the mobile phones, it was expensive, so very few people were buying it. Then there came a growth phase where everyone started buying mobile phones. Then there was a maturity phase where the purchase of mobile phones was decreasing because smartphones had entered into the industry. So during maturity stage, your sales stops increasing because there are enough competitors and you start getting better products also. And then those better products become more successful, so your product sales starts decreasing. Now nobody is purchasing feature phones. Feature phones means that old Nokia phones, वो snake वाला जो ad आता था वो, that phones were the feature phones which were not smartphones. So now the era is of smartphones. Now it is the growth phase of smartphones. Maybe later, someday in future, smartphones will also start declining and something else, new technology will come up. Yeah. Anyways, this indicates the life cycle of any product. Yes. In fact, one more example. Same goes with not just products, even for services. Say social media. In case of social media, if you remember, maybe in your childhood, in fact in my childhood, before Facebook, Instagram, there used to be something called Orkut. Now Orkut had a very short life cycle. It was introduced, immediately there was growth phase, everybody started having Orkut accounts. Then maturity again, it immediately started declining. It started declining very soon because a better option was available called Facebook. So Facebook had an introduction phase where very few people knew about Facebook, but it was increasing. Then came a growth phase where everyone started opening Facebook accounts. I also opened my Facebook account during that growth phase. Then came the maturity phase when the number of users of Facebook stopped increasing. It was highest. It was having highest number of users, but the increase stopped. And now there is almost Facebook. Right now Facebook is almost over here at the start of the decline phase. Why? Because nowadays the new generation like you people, you don't prefer Facebook more, you prefer Instagram, Twitter little more than Facebook. Of course Instagram belongs to Facebook, but as a product, I would say that as a product, the life cycle of Facebook is started to decline, while the life cycle of Instagram, life cycle of say TikTok, it is under growth phase right now. Done? Yes. Okay. So it involves identifying cost and revenues over a product's entire life, right from inception to decline, right from new launch of the product until decline of the product. You identify cost and revenues for the entire life. You know, generally cost and revenues are calculated year wise, but this topic here says that You identify cost and revenues of a product not for every year, rather you identify that for total life cycle, so that you can identify profit generated over the entire life cycle. You try to maximize the profit generated over the entire life cycle. That is my purpose here. Okay, so the phases over here I already explained. Now the details of each of the phases. Notice I've written all the stages in columnar manner so that you can clearly see the differences, so that I can point out clearly the differences. Acha. Now these differences, these points that I have written, it is a new content here. You will not find this in your regular book. I have summarized all the content from your regular book and put them over here. This entire table I would say is very important. This entire table is very important, because for every question pertaining to life cycle, you will get your comments and suggestions from this table. You will get your analysis from this table only. Yes. So for every practical question or case study, every case study of life cycle where you need to write analysis, this table will help you write the analysis. Let's see what is the analysis. Well, introduction stage is the stage where the product is new, so there is less awareness of the product. So your focus is on increasing the product awareness. Your focus is to increase the product awareness. Your focus is on the buyers that are most ready to buy. Like when Apple launches a new iPhone, they will be focused on only those buyers who are die-hard Apple fans. They might not focus on other customers who are buying cheaper phones and try to sell iPhone to them. No, they will focus on only those buyers who are most ready to buy. During this introduction stage, competition is negligible. Why? Because it is a new product. Nobody else has this product yet. Okay. Product refinements are not possible because you have just launched a new product. At this time, you don't do any refinement in the product. You don't do any improvements or changes in the product. You remember when Apple launched a new iPhone, at the time of launch, for the next few months, they will not do any changes in that phone. After a few months, they will launch new color for that same phone. They will launch new color in the same phone. They will launch maybe say new storage capacity in the same phone. Well, that means adding features. That happens later after a few months. During introduction phase, there will not be any refinements in the product. Plus, the pricing of the product might be penetration pricing or skimming pricing. These are two opposite strategies of pricing a product. We will learn these strategies in chapter number 7, pricing decisions. I'll tell you now here itself. Penetration pricing means initially at the launch, I price the product very less. I launch the product at a very less price so that I can capture more market. Okay, that is penetration pricing. For example, Jio Telecom, they launched the telecom services free of cost. Then later they start charging money. Yeah, so penetration pricing. Example, Jio. While skimming price, meaning at the launch of the product, I will charge a very high price. After a few months later, I will start decreasing the price. So skimming price means that at the launch of the product during introduction stage, I charge very high price. Exact opposite of penetration pricing. Example, iPhones. Because in case of iPhones, when they launch a new iPhone, they charge very high price. Not only iPhones, for every kind of mobile phones, at the launch they charge very high price because they need to recover the development cost, research and development, marketing cost. So during the launch they will charge very high price. Later they will decrease the price. That is called as skimming price. Even for movie theaters, when a new movie will release in the theaters, first week the pricing will be very high. First day, first show, the pricing is very high. Then later on, when the people come to know that the movie is ghatiya, so by that time now they will reduce the prices. Yeah, that is skimming price. During introduction stage, no profits exist because you have just launched the product. People don't even know your product. Because people don't know your product, your main focus was on to increasing the product awareness. For that matter, there will be high promotional expense, yes, and your product cost will be therefore very high. Your product cost per unit will be obviously very high during that time. Okay, this is my introduction stage. Now let us compare this with the growth, maturity and decline stage. Notice each point I will compare. During introduction stage, it was a new product, so less awareness was there. Sales was very less. But during growth stage, now the sales increases very rapidly. During maturity stage, sales increases slowly due to overcapacity. Why? Because now during maturity, by the time of maturity stage, there are so many competitors selling the same product. So your sales will increase very slowly, maybe even start decreasing. And during decline stage, the demand will disappear and the sales will rapidly decline. That is my decline stage. So these are the meaning of the stages. Further, during the growth stage, your focus is on maximizing the market share. Now your awareness is reached. People know your product, hence your sales has started increasing rapidly. But now your focus is not on getting awareness. Your focus is on maximizing your market share. Now looking at your profits, looking at your growth, other competitors will also enter into the industry, and because of the other competitors, you need to face those competition. Maybe you will have to add some new features, or maybe you will have to lower the prices to attract the buyers. Yes, because there are competitors. Profits are still rising during this stage, and promotional expenses will be same or maybe slightly more because competitors have entered. Yes, but now the product cost will reduce. Why? Because you will get economies of scale. Your production is increasing, so product cost per unit will now reduce. Okay. Then comes maturity stage, where the sales is increasing but slowly. This is the one where your units, your production has reached the maximum. Now my focus is on maximizing the profits. I know that now my sales is not going to increase further. I know that my sales is not going to increase further. I know that market share is not going to increase further. So my focus is to maximize the profits at the existing sales and to maintain the market share, not increase, maintain the market share. This can be done by diversification. Diversification meaning I launch some more similar products or accessories. Along with that, I launch some accessories, I do some diversification of my product in order to maintain that market share. By this time, there is very intense competition because competitors had entered last time. So now there is intense competition. Pricing is also very competitive now. And profits will start decreasing. Because of tough competition, your profits might start decreasing. Now, your more focus will be on distribution rather than promotion. What's the difference? Promotion means I tell you what is my product. Distribution means I make my product reach till the nearest shop to you. Yes, now that the customers know your product, you don't need to do advertising of your product. Rather, you need to increase the availability of your product. I need to ensure that my product reaches every single shop. That is my focus on distribution. And now my product cost will remain little constant because my sales has become consistent. So cost per unit will also become consistent. Okay. And then comes the decline stage where my sales decreases, demand disappears. Focus is on new products because by this time, if the sales of this product has decreased, so now I should focus on some new products. Competitors will also decline. There will be price cutting now because the sales is declining. Everyone will start giving the products at major discounts. Yeah, profits will also decline now because the sales is decreasing. You will also not do any promotional expense because anyways it is an old product. Purana product hai, old product hai. Why would you spend money on promotions of that product? No, you will not. And the product cost will start increasing because the units are less. Product cost will start increasing. Done. Now this table shows me a comparative analysis for all the 4 stages. Plus additionally for the maturity stage, I have 2 important sentences for you. Dekho. Additional note for maturity stage. During the maturity stage, customers start moving to other products because competitors had entered and this product has become old. Like I told you, once the feature phone market reaches the maturity stage, customers started moving to other products like smartphones. So you also need to have very high R&D budgets, research and development budget, because you need to discover that new products. So you need high research and development budget now during maturity stage, because look, during maturity stage now you have already achieved maximum profitability. You have earned enough profits. Use this money for doing research and development. Use this profit accumulated for research and development so that you can discover new products. This is one. Secondly, now during maturity stage, if at all there is any increase in my sales, that increase is generally not because of market share increase. Now during maturity stage, whatever sales increases, that increase might be because of population growth. Overall population of the country increases, so the demand will increase, yes, or because of replacement demand. Replacement demand means my existing customers are buying my product again. So during maturity stage, I generally don't get new customers, but still my sales might increase because of population growth or because of replacement demand. Then replacement demand means my existing customers are buying my product again to replace their existing product, to replace that same old product. Yes, I have an iPhone which is now old, so I sell off that iPhone and I purchase a new iPhone. Same configuration, but I purchase a new phone just because I want to replace it. That replacement demand is the one which will affect the maturity stage. Done? Yes. Okay. Now this analysis which I explained here covers everything that you need to write in your analysis in your case studies. But still, I recommend that you should refer all examples of life cycle costing from the classwork. Maybe not on the last day revision, but before your last day revision, when you do this revision, at least refer the classwork questions for more examples of analysis of life cycle costing, so that you can relate. Every time you study the classwork questions, I would suggest that while revising the classwork question, keep this table beside you. Keep this table beside you so that you can compare that in which answer the analysis given is related to this table over here. How is this table relating to the analysis given in the book? That you need to study. Done? Yes. Okay. Okay, so that was life cycle costing. Next is Pareto analysis. Now Pareto analysis, also called as 80-20 rule, it is a very simple structure, simple theory which says that 80% of my good things come from only 20% of the cases. For example, at different places this 80-20 rule might be applied. Like 80-20 rule, if applied in product pricing, it means that 80% of my sales revenue is coming from only 20% of the products, because 20% of the products are high price products. Yes, so I should focus my attention more on these 20% products, and the remaining 80% products which are less important, I delegate those products to the lower management. Maybe I can delegate pricing decision of 80% less important products to lower management. That is how I can manage my company better. Or you can apply 80-20 rule in customer profitability, which says that 20% of the customers generate 80% of the profits. These customers are important customers, cream customers. I should provide better services to these customers. ABC analysis, stock control. This you had in your IPCC level. It says that 20% of total quantity of stock may account for 80% of the value of stock. 80% of my inventory value is coming from only 20% of the quantity. This 20% quantity, this small quantity, I should concentrate on their management more. Yes, so we must concentrate on this small quantity of stock which is more valuable. Remaining 80% quantity of stock which is not very valuable, delegate that to the lower management. Yes. You can apply that in activity based costing also, which says that 20% of my cost drivers are responsible for 80% of the total cost. So if you wish to do cost reduction, then for doing reduction of cost, you focus on these cost drivers only. These are the cost drivers which are more important ones. These are the cost drivers which are responsible for 80% of the cost. So controlling these cost drivers is important. Rest of the cost drivers don't control. Don't waste your time in controlling the remaining cost drivers. You give your time in controlling these cost drivers because these are most expensive ones. Yeah. Also, you can apply 80-20 in quality control. It says that 80% of the reported problems are happening because of 20% of the causes. So you focus on these 20% causes, you concentrate on rectifying these 20% causes only. If you rectify these 20% causes, then 80% of your problems will be solved. That is my 80-20 rule in quality control. Done? Yes. Of course, there is no 80-20 rule for your CA final costing syllabus. So please don't believe that 80% of the exam paper comes from 20% of the chapter. No, your exam paper will come evenly distributed from all the chapters. Do not skip any chapter in option. I repeat, do not skip any chapter in option because your final exam paper will come proportionately from all the chapters. No 80-20 rules over there. This 80-20 rule only for your theory and for the case studies. Done? Yes? Okay. There is also a concept called second level Pareto analysis. Well, that I cannot explain in a theory. You can refer classwork question 12 for that, in which you will have Pareto analysis done for certain items of the products, certain materials. Now within one of the material you do further Pareto analysis for the usage of that material. That can be called as second level. You'll see that in classwork question 12 if you don't remember. That can be one new point under Pareto analysis. Ultimately, practical questions are very easy in this. What is more important in Pareto analysis is your analysis part. If the question is regarding Pareto analysis based on sales value, or it can be Pareto analysis based on contribution, well, how will you solve that question? Listen to this. I have not written that here because I cannot write it. I'll just explain it. If I ask you Pareto analysis based on sales value, this is what you do. Step 1, you identify sales value of all products given. Step 2, you arrange the products in decreasing order of sales value. Arrange them in reducing order of sales value. Then step 3, in that order, start from the top, the item having highest sales value, find percentage of that. Second item having second highest sales value, find percentage of that. You convert each of the sales values into percentage of total sales value. Start accumulating from the highest percentage. The moment you reach first 80%, the moment you reach top 80% sales value, that is my important products. Example. I'll show you from the classwork itself. Say question 10 was regarding Pareto analysis by sales and Pareto analysis of contribution. What I did was, you had these many different products given and sales value was given, contribution you can find. So once you have the sales values, first I arrange them in a decreasing order of the sales value. Yeah, convert each sales value into percentage of total sales, and now I start adding the percentages. Now by the time I add the first 4 items percentages, it turns out to be 82%. So I can say that more than 80% of my sales comes from only these 4 products. Rest all products are giving only 20% sales. So these 4 products are important products. Same thing I did for contribution then. Done? Yes. Important here will be your analysis. Once you identify which are the important products for sales and identify which are the important products for contribution, you write your analysis that what is important, what is not important. Plus you also need to write a combined analysis that in which product which product is important for sales and contribution. These are the best products. But there are some products which are important sales but not important contribution. Try to increase contribution in them. Some products have good contribution but not good sales. Then try to increase the sales in them. Such suggestions you need to write in your answer. Done? Well, this sentence what I just spoke revises entire question 10 of classwork here. Okay. Back to the revision, back to the summary. Last topic in the chapter is environment management accounting. Well, this is also mostly theory, but practicals can also come. However, any practical question you get from EMA here, that question is only and only pertaining to ABC method. The practical questions of EMA will be always asking you to identify environmental cost by activity based costing method. So as such, the question is solved just like any other question of activity based costing. You identify the activities, find out the cost drivers, calculate the cost driver rate, and using that cost driver rate you find the product cost adding the environmental cost. Yes, that is exactly what you do in all practical questions. So for EMA practical questions I am not giving a revision because all practical questions in EMA are simply activity based costing method. If you need revision, go to the classwork and refer the last question. Yeah, but the theory in EMA is very small. EMA identifies and estimates costs of environment related activities and seek to control these costs by environmental decision making. Well, you can control environmental cost if you can identify environment related cost separately. To identify that cost separately, ABC method is required, activity based costing, because if you follow regular overheads costing method, then in my regular overheads environment cost will be hidden inside overheads. Under activity based costing you can separately identify that which product is causing more environmental damages. Otherwise, in a routine overhead method all your environmental costs are evenly distributed between the products. You don't know that which product is damaging the environment more. If you follow ABC method, then you can identify which product damages environment more. Yes. Okay. Environment cost report is just like your topic about cost of quality. Cost of quality, which you did in chapter number 2. Remember, in cost of quality you would identify prevention cost, appraisal cost and failure cost. Similarly, over here you identify environmental prevention cost. Environmental prevention cost meaning the cost incurred to prevent environmental damages like pollution control cost. Appraisal cost means to check and monitor the environmental damages, monitoring and testing cost. Internal failure costs are the cost of activities that are produced but not discharged. You produce some toxic waste, but that waste is not discharged into the environment. No, you are treating that waste yourself. That is my internal failure cost. You will incur the cost because you have to do treatment of that toxic waste. Okay, while external failure cost means that you didn't do the treatment of that external, you didn't do the treatment of the toxic waste, rather you discharge the waste into the environment. So after you discharge the waste into the environment, you will have to then incur the cost for cleaning the contamination, or government will charge you penalty for cleaning that contamination. That becomes your external failure cost. So failure means that you create some wastage that damages the environment. Now this wastage, if it is discharged into the environment, it is external failure because it will damage external environment. If it is not discharged into the environment, then you will have to incur cost to detoxify it. Then that becomes your internal failure cost. Environment cost report means that you need to report all these 4 things. Each category of cost must be expressed as a percentage of sales revenue. You express that how much percentage of sales is your prevention cost, how much percentage of sales is your appraisal cost, and so on. Can be presented as percentage of sales or percentage of operating cost. so that comparisons can be made. Categories are these. Done? Yes. Okay. And the last part, identification and measurement of environmental cost. Environmental cost will be measured how? Well, according to your book, there are 4 measurements of environmental cost given. First is input-output analysis. Naturally, if I get more output with less input, meaning there is lesser cost on the environment. If I am getting more output using less input, meaning lesser environmental resources are consumed to get more output. Better efficiency, better output, that means lesser environmental cost. Okay. Second one, flow cost accounting. Flow cost accounting involves keeping a track of material flows and material losses through the various stages of production. In short, it is about keeping a track of flows, material flows and losses. Keeping a track of material flows and losses through the various production stages. Which stages? Well, number 1, the costs are identified in 3 main categories. First is materials. Materials related costs you identify. Then you identify system related costs. System means in-house handling costs and all. And then you identify delivery and disposal, meaning finished goods ka delivery cost. Yes, that is flows leaving the company, example transport costs. These items of cost you identify, it's called as flow cost accounting. Life cycle costing means you consider full environmental cost over the entire life of the product. We already did life cycle costing. We told there that life cycle costing means to identify cost and revenues over the entire life. Well, over here you identify environmental cost over the entire life of the product. Yes. And finally, I told you activity based costing is used for allocating environmental cost based on activities. This is the one for which you will get practical questions. You allocate environmental cost based on activities rather than based on routine absorption rate. Only then you can identify correct environmental cost of each product. Done? Yes. This last topic is asked almost 2 times until now, is as a direct theory question. Measures of environmental cost, how to measure environmental cost. These are the 4 methods. Done. Practical questions you will get will be regarding only the 4th measure here. Done. Yes. Okay, so that covers my chapter number 4, revision of chapter 4. That's all with this session. Thank you very much. Next session, last 1 chapter remaining, that is chapter number 7. We will discuss in the next session. That's all. Thank you very much. Bye bye.